This is I Love Black People Radio on HUR Voices, Sirius XM Channel 141. I Love Black People is more than a radio show. I Love Black People is a call from our ancestors to protect us from racial profiling all across the world. Go to iloveblackpeople.com and become a member today. Membership empowers you to live fearlessly and protect Black people globally from racism and xenophobia. Join us today and become a member of our global network with an online global green book with Black-owned and Black-friendly businesses to protect you and your community. Membership is free, and with you, we will become 10 million strong worldwide. I am because we are. Special thanks to Aflac for supporting I Love Black People Radio.
And welcome to another edition of I Love Black People. Thank you so much to all the wonderful listeners who continue to give us all your support. And we're just thankful to be a part of this community. I love Black people. Just saying it feels good. So let me just jump right into all the things going on. I know many of you just celebrated a great Juneteenth, and I think that's so important. And we also been doing a lot of hard work at I Love Black People to continue to fulfill our mission to protect Black people from racism and xenophobia. And one of those things that we've been doing is we updated our mission. And our mission originally was to protect Black people from racism and xenophobia. And now we've really focused more on exactly what we meant by xenophobia. And that is the attacks and the fear and the hate of people of African descent. And that has been one of the things that we've always have focused on. But the term of art, Afrophobia, hadn't been really discussed. And once we seized upon that, we thought that actually spoke to literally what we've been fighting to protect our people from. And it literally, some people perceive our Africanness as being a negative thing, or they fear it. So our focus with our platform, with all the things that we're doing, including our app, which is a directory of Black-friendly places in 8 key categories. We're continuing that work, and we're definitely blessed to have some additional support. We're actually building out a new app for our beta testing. So if any of you had an opportunity, we definitely appreciate your feedback. Going to the Apple Store for the I Love Black People Safe Places app. That's a very good way. When I was talking to people about how can we do our part to help our people, no matter where you are in the world, being able to utilize this application as a tool to share some of the great places that you already support, that people who don't know you or not a part of your circle may not know of. And so often we've seen quite a few instances of our brothers and sisters still being attacked and harmed in all over the world, including the United States. And we want to identify places to go and support that appreciate and respect us as a people. And I think the context of Juneteenth is even helpful with some of the things we're doing, because even as we talk about liberation and our freedom as a people, many folks may or may not know that even the Juneteenth celebration is born out of chattel slavery, the enslavement of African peoples in the United States. And there was a particular group of enslaved Africans that didn't know that liberation had taken place following the Civil War. And there was a proclamation that was made June 19th, 1865, and by the Union soldiers in general. So these were some of the last Black folks that become aware of their emancipation. And, again, there's a lot of good information, that background of that story, talking about how Black people were never in a situation where they were just subordinate to a system. We've been resisting and participating in the resistance of the wicked, evil enslavement of our people from day one. With that being said, the information didn't get to some of our brothers and sisters. And now fast forward to, now there's a celebration. And again, I think we all are doing things that we are doing in our individual lives to celebrate our ancestors and the struggles, and the struggle's eternal. Like we're a continuation of that struggle. And I think depending on, where you are, what you do, even our existence, the fact that we have refused to die, refused to give up and give in, is again a testament to our strength as a people. And I think sometimes we, even discussing things like being enslaved, there's a level of shame that's often felt because of the context of the conversation. And again, I would assert that it's very clear, is a sign of our strength that in spite of all the wicked things that have been done to our people by a government as powerful as the United States government, that we have refused to surrender and to give in to it. And that we still, with our existence, have said that we are not going to accept second citizenry or to be treated less than a human being. And that has actually been something that has shined all over the world. It's impacted and continues to impact the world. The significance of us being a part of a incredible African diaspora of 1.5 billion people at least. Our numbers are undercounted, and they're still trying to decrease our population. Only time I hear people saying there's too many people is when they look like us. So what we've been able to do, in spite of all the things that have been thrown at us, including the kitchen sink, is a testament to the strength of and inspiration of our ancestors. And it also means something I think we don't talk enough about, but we sometimes get caught up in what they call generational chauvinism. We somehow think there's one generation that did everything. But in reality, we stand on the shoulders of all our ancestors, not just one generation of ancestors. And we're here to contribute and to move our people even forward from where we found the condition of our people as we came into. But that being said, when we look at this holiday in the United States, some folks, I think, adequately and appropriately say that this is not a substitute for reparations. There was many gestures made that were not even requested, and the request that's been on the table since even HR 40 that was introduced by John Conyers, the dean of the CBC, that literally now we fast forward, 30 some years after that, and we still have not yet been compensated for being denied our inheritance in a capitalist society. And I say capitalist society because in a capitalist society, the ancestors are allowed to bequeath and to leave their inheritance from what they worked so hard to their children. Well, again, when a country denies that, then a family doesn't get access to all the work that was done and the brilliance that was contributed to society because it was unlawful and because of enslavement. And these are things that were illegal at the time. So we still are living in the context of that because you got Jim Crow that also denied again that level of sovereignty of self and self-determination. And now we're here and we have a holiday. And I don't think, again, it's bad, but it's definitely not, the symbols are not a substitute for the substance of actually receiving what's due. And again, so often other people talk about, what other constituent groups have been given as a compensation for the horrific things that have been done. And I think that those things are reasonable to bring up. At the same time, the United States has a very particular relationship with descendants of enslaved Africans that came through chattel slavery and have been, again, names taken, our languages taken, our culture, history, all of these things taken away. And then on top of that, it was unlawful for us to read. The rape, if you really study what we've seen, that the raping of African women, and then the enslaver would then sell the children. Like, just think about that. Like, when you start thinking about how horrific this period of time was, and in your mind, you're thinking, like, they could not have thought, whatever God they prayed to, thought that this was a correct way of treating even their own cattle and their own goats or whatever they have. They actually treat human beings as horrible as our great grandparents were treated, great grandparents were treated. It's not something that, when you really think about it, that there's no humanity in that. So when we speak to repairing and reparations, and again, everyone has different degrees of what they think. And I tell people, if you don't want to check, just don't block my check. Like, I'm clear that we need to be compensated financially in a capitalist society, full stop. Cut the check. There's real damages and they're due. If you don't agree with it, I think it's fair. Everybody's not going to agree, but don't disagree and then get in the way of my check. And matter of fact, you can sign your check over. I mean, once it comes to pass, there's checks. If you don't want your check, I think that's someone, it shouldn't be forced to take their reparations. But with that being said, hey, you can pass it to someone else if you choose, maybe, but maybe not. But my bigger point is that, I think it's fair that we have a day to acknowledge what has been done to our people. But again, that's not a substitute for actually the things that we still demand in order to repair and actually make right. So, I spent the day in a part of Washington, D.C. We have our office. We have an office here in Washington, D.C. We also have an office in Harare, Zimbabwe. The co-founder of I Love Black People is a Mr. Christopher Mapindera. We both attended Howard University, and our home office in Zimbabwe is at the Harare International Conference Center, and we have an office in Washington D.C. It's based out of 712th Street, downtown Washington D.C. And we definitely see the importance of celebrating and organizing with our people. So I was in Washington D.C. for Juneteenth and actually spent time in a place called Congress Heights. Oh, and before then, actually, there's a hotel that was bought by Bob Johnson's wife, or former wife. I apologize, Sheila Johnson, called the Salamander, and we had some meetings there. Again, our whole theme for the day was supporting Black businesses. So that was a part of our piece, and as well as working with our people collectively. And then there was a launch of a new location with 13 Black-owned businesses in a still majority Black part of Washington, D.C. Now, again, those who may not know, Washington, D.C., the capital of the United States, at one time was known as Chocolate City because of the large population of Black folks. In the United States, our population is around probably close to 15%, 14%. They always undercount our numbers, and then they break them up into different categories that, again, sometimes water down our actual numbers. But with that being said, DC had, close to 65% at one time, population of Black folks, even maybe 70%, and known as Chocolate City. Unfortunately, even in those days, the quality of the education wasn't like it should be, and opportunities wasn't the way they should be. And this is like in many urban cities in the United States. Even the faces were Black. The ownership of land was still retained by European Americans, and to see the transformation that allows access to this Black citizenry never took place economically. And what we've seen in Washington, D.C., as many other communities, there's almost been like a criminalization of Black success. As I just mentioned, there's this wonderful location built with collaboration with some very amazing groups. Shout out to the mayor, Muriel Bowser. Shout out to Trayon White and Kenyon McDuffie for their leadership as elected officials. And shout out to some of the folks on the ground who actually did the building, Sister Monica Ray and the programs, the brother Omar Kareem, a Howard grad, HU, who helped build the actual buildings. And literally people from the community were employed to actually do the construction. And the construction was like zero emissions. They used recycled wood to reduce the carbon footprint and lots of recyclable parts of the development. And even with all this, and this is in a part of town that has been for decades a majority Black community, but had food deserts and had not been totally served. And now they're actually using this amazing site called Sycamore and Oak. And it's actually like the location is like near Sycamore and Oak, southeast Washington, D.C., if you get a chance to check it out. And there still was pushback saying, why are we focused on Black development? Well, if maybe that's reverse discrimination. Like some of the things that we're still enduring, in spite of the systemic issues, is still problematic. And in our successes, like some place like this, where we have 13 businesses with local entrepreneurs, it's even challenged, where literally almost all of Washington downtown is all European-owned businesses. Like literally, like the percentage, even the numbers of opportunities with government contracts is easily over 90% white males. But as soon as a group of Black folks get together, now there's a level of scrutiny. And I think sometimes we talk about tropes and different constituent groups being targeted with tropes that harm them. And it's unacceptable, no matter what group that is. Who says it? It's not acceptable. But what I've noticed that there's certain tropes used against the Black community that's even used by Black folks and is popularized in corporate media, where you literally have attacks on Black folks being lazy, uneducated, and literally Black women are some of the most educated groups of people in the United States, full stop. So to even talk about Black folks and associating with these tropes, our success is oftentimes criticized, if not criminalized. Like literally the questions that are asked when a development is made with this many amazing Black entrepreneurs, now the question is, well, how do they do that? And, is that good? And no, they're not even questioning. They're actually maybe even condemning these things in a way that's not helpful. We have to stand up for our Black success. And Juneteenth is not what we ask. We ask for reparations. When we receive or things that we've earned, we still say, I think it's reasonable to say thank you for Juneteenth, but it's not enough. And I think we should use every opportunity to continue to organize for the self-determination, for the objective. The struggle is eternal, as I said. So we want to make sure we achieve our goals. Along the way, we shouldn't miss that journey. That we're going to have ups and downs, and we still should figure out ways to work with each other. And I think some of the celebrations I saw with Juneteenth from Washington, D.C., and I know we have listeners from all over the world, was still opportunities for our community to organize in a positive way. And Kwame Ture, a Howard alum, always emphasized how important it was for us to organize. And events and celebrations in themselves are not really organizing as much as actually just getting people to come out to something. But through that, if we can get our people to be more conscious of their behavior, conscious of their activities, the things that they're doing, that can actually help us achieve the goals. And I'm saying people from all walks of life. It's not just those who are disenfranchised financially, but even the Black folks that may have some means, have them refocus their thoughts. Because sometimes, as we talk about these issues, as we pay homage to our ancestors, we make it seem as if it's only about our brothers and sisters who may be dealing with or caught up in some type of criminal violence or being in situations where they're not properly sheltered. But let's be clear, those who are actually here making money and have what we call successful lives, we need to make sure that they are still aware that we have too much to do to leave it in the hands of a few people. And they must be reminded also, and if Juneteenth helps with this, to let them know that no one's going to come save us. We got to save ourselves. And that most of us are not but a few family members removed from some of the issues that so many of our community in a negative way are experiencing. And that we have an obligation to our ancestors and our future children, our prodigy, to do as much as possible. And I think it's clear in a capitalist society that oftentimes it's about individual wealth, individual or family wealth. People even talk about leaving money for their as a legacy to their children, but they only talk about their children. They're not talking about all the children that were in need. And that being said, that therein lies the problem with even the discussion about businesses, entrepreneurship, and money. These systems that sometimes are set up where we're graded not on how many people are helped, but how much money an individual is able to obtain. And people talk about how many Black billionaires. And let's be clear, if there was 10 times more Black billionaires, would that move the needle for the masses of Black people? Or would that move the needle for those particular families? And are the validations or the support of what decisions those billionaires make, is it based on what's best for everyone or what's best for them as those who acquired the wealth? And it still reminds me of when we supported BET with Bob Johnson, to bring up another Johnson, his former wife with the Salamander, as well as himself with the BET. Even though BET didn't show us what we wanted all the time, and it was kind of glitchy, and at late night it was kind of weird, we literally supported it because he was a part of our community. And when he sold it, it was almost like, wait a minute, we supported you all these years in spite of all these glitches and things that weren't right, and now you're just going to sell it to someone else and not even within our community. And again, he was a capitalist. He's still a capitalist. And what was his guiding principles was not liberation, but his guiding principles was capitalization and making as much money as possible. And with those decisions, in spite of the fact that it was our support that we gave basically willingly, in spite of the quality not being there, he made a capitalist decision that would be hard to argue from a capitalist standpoint, but for a community standpoint was very problematic. In so much that now the same BET has been valued for even more, and now Tyler Perry is purchasing it. But the question becomes again: as a capitalist, is he going to do what's best for the collective community, or is he going to do what's best for him as a capitalist? And when people start arguing those points, it becomes quite problematic, because one could say, well, he is a capitalist. He actually used his wealth to purchase it. Now, again, when we say those things, I think the quiet part that we don't say out loud is that he made that from a community that was supportive of him for very particular reasons. And those particular reasons, in many ways, would have people want to see a certain level of loyalty and support for the community. And again, that's where these conflicts with capitalism can get experienced. And please, I'm not advocating for other systems per se, but I will say that as we talk about Juneteenth and talk about our liberation in the United States, the capitalist system is what brought slavery. That's a capitalist system, plus the government doing these horrible things. But these folks were all capitalists. It was about money. It wasn't about human rights. It wasn't about don't rape women. It wasn't about don't sell children. This was literally capitalism. Make sure you support any of the activities we have coming up as it relates to gun violence, as well as creative content coalition that we're putting together. Thank you so much for all you do. And as I always leave off, I am because we are.
This is I Love Black People Radio on HUR Voices, Sirius XM, Channel 141. I Love Black People is more than a radio show. I Love Black People is a call from our ancestors to protect us from racial profiling all across the world. Go to iloveblackpeople.com and become a member today. Membership empowers you to live fearlessly and protect Black people globally from racism and xenophobia. Join us today and become a member of our global network with an online global green book with Black-owned and Black-friendly businesses to protect you and your community. Membership is free, and with you, we will become 10 million strong worldwide. I am because we are. Special thanks to AFLAC for supporting I Love Black People Radio.